there. Hello, and now we're live. So welcome to the last class broadcasted from Wisconsin. After this, as the two of them know, I'm headed back. So we'll see you back in Spain on Monday for our next class. And so for today, what I want to talk about is what would you do? Situations at work in which there's conflicts, differences, things like that. So for example, I'll talk about a situation, or we can also talk about a situation in which you've been in. And so we can talk about, maybe what you did in that situation, what your thought process was, and then we can kind of talk about it. Did you handle it appropriately in our mind? Would I have done something different? Because we're all different people, we all come from different backgrounds, we'll have different responses. So, yes. Perfect. I was thinking of one, a stereotypical one would be you disagree with your boss, okay? You're in a situation, he's like, okay, marketing, or, what's our budget plan for the next year, or, some kind of approach to a new something. And your boss wants to do something a little different, and you kind of maybe, let's say you have experience in this, and you've seen a different way work better. So how would you talk to your boss? Would you, approach your boss and say, hey, by the way, I've done this differently. It works great this way. Or would you just say, hey, that's a bad idea. Let's not do it that way. I have a better idea. So what do we think here? Marco, do you have any, you disagree with your boss? Maybe it's a scheduling issue, at work. Maybe you're working with a whole bunch of new people, and so you have to do a lot more work or help out more. How would you approach your boss?
It's a kind of like you had reading my mind because unfortunately those kind of problems happens too often in my workplace. So it's kind of weird, but I have to deal with this kind of issues so often, and that it's really get me angry in some way, because of course, especially when my boss, my charge nurse, I have a woman in that position, and like a woman belonging to women species, you are not so easy to deal with some way,
It depends on the woman, I'm gonna say on that one. And the mood of the woman at that time.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's exactly my point. So, especially when I read, my timetable, in the future days, because normally my boss charge paste up or attached our timetable of the month, timetable on our kitchen, and on it it should be written your shift, along the following month. But unfortunately, not always happen in that way, in the way that you read at the first time. Unfortunately,
your schedule's changing randomly.
Along the month, unfortunately, we are going to deal with some changing, because when happen, of course, it's not our fault, but some colleagues can call in sick, for example, or can have some family problems all of a sudden. My job, the worst thing in my job is that you have to be available to stand in for that changing, because your colleague can't go to do his shift.
All right. Well, have you stop there for a second? I'd like to ask Ken what he thinks about this, because if you have, let's say, a set schedule for the month, all right,
Yeah.
it's done,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden your boss just kind of
Yeah.
changes something. Does your boss tell you that they changed this or not?
Yeah. And that's the way. But the major problem is that it can happen at the last minute. For example, fortunately, I'm still here in a holiday. No, I'm going to work only on Friday. But just to make an example, for you, if today I worked and I were free, no, from work, it could happen that my boss could call me just 2 or 3 hours before, for example, we are in the afternoon before the night shift is coming, and call me if it's possible for me to go to work, because I have to substitute or replace for a colleague that he called in sick, for example, no. And of course, you can imagine that it's not always possible in my mind, especially in my mind, because I don't know. I know other my colleagues that they are more available than me, but I am a father of 2 children. I am a husband. I have some familiar commitment. For me, especially at the last moment, is something that makes me crazy, in my mind, because I have some fixed, commitment, or even I can do. I can't do anything in that moment, but in my mind I am free. So rescheduled, my mind to go to work is something that it gets me up the wall, get me driving crazy. Or choose yourself what idioms.
That happens to me too. I mean, for a different job that I have, we have our schedule, and normally it doesn't change during the day. Or if it does, my boss will tell me, hey, can you do a class at this time? Sure, no problem. But, sometimes you make plans and you don't block off the schedule, don't block off the time in your schedule. So, if someone gives you a class and it's like, wait a second, I have something to do.
Yeah.
You can't do that. As soon as you have plans, I put it in my schedule, so I know I am guaranteed to not get another class. But I've always been paranoid, because one time I was, on the phone, I was doing my thing, and then all of a sudden I hung up to come to refresh the schedule page, and I had another class in 10 minutes, and I'm like, whoa, no warning, and so it's kind of like this huge surprise. Like, I mean, I don't mind, but just tell me, because I have my morning planned. And so I do have some anxiety when it comes to my classes too. I check thousands of times per day. I check on my phone when I'm out, because if someone cancels, then someone cancels and I don't have to do the class. And I don't have to maybe be at home. So let me ask Ken, let's get Ken in on this for a second. Have you ever had a job like this, Ken, where you've had to kind of be more available than when you have to work?
Yeah, my previous job, sometimes, this person cannot available today, and all of a sudden I got a call, and I go there. Yeah, it often happens. So yeah, as both you guys said, yeah, it's not good, because maybe we tends to plan to do in a day or in a week. It's such kind of things, certain work, how can I say, interfere the pace of the plan, my life plan. Yeah. So yeah, that's not good.
Doesn't your heart like drop when you see that work is calling? You're like, oh no, this is it. This is the call.
Right. Definitely, it's not a good call actually, but I have to, and yeah.
Yeah, it used to happen to me a lot when I was waitressing, and actually here in town, they call, hey, can you work this afternoon? Yep, I can. Or, hey, can you work tomorrow morning? Sure can. You know, things like that. Like
Right.
that's fine, but when you're now an adult, you have things to do and you have things planned, and then it's all of a sudden, oh, I have to go to work. Now, my question to Marco is that, for example, you either had some alcohol and you're not able to work. It would be an excuse that you can't go in probably. And second, what happens if you're like 3 hours away and they call you like, hey, can you be to work in 2 hours? You're like, it's impossible. So what happens in those situations?
Yeah, my first way to escape this kind of obligation is quite simple. And fortunately, you don't know my boss, and my boss doesn't speak any words in English, so you you can't say anything to her. But here I can reveal, no, unveil my little secret. I given her a wrong number of my mobile phone.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my secret, only for you both. Of course, for other few trusted people
That's
that I
hilarious.
have in my work. She still try to call me by using my old number, and of course, it never works. Of course.
I'm out of the service area. I don't know. Just go straight to voicemail.
No, but of course, I have uh, another number, my landline number, no, of my home, of course, and that number works well, so she can call me at the number. But I have always given some instruction to my family at the same time, and of course, when I can't answer, no, I can't pick up the phone. And maybe my son or my wife answer at the place of myself. Of course, they know very well that they have to respond that I am out of home, and it's not possible to get me in some way, or maybe my boss can leave some messages. But of course, you can imagine that if the time passes by, it's too late now for me to replace a colleague or another one. So I have some strategies to survive, to get by. But of course, it's not always possible.
Right.
Of course, but there is I have some strategies, and at the same time, of course, it's impossible to avoid some arguments with my boss. My boss knows me very well, like I know her very well, and time to time we clash each other on this kind of topics.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's understandable too. You know, if there's a younger person who doesn't have like this family life and is, you know,
Yeah.
just like I was before, you know, just kind of free and just doing whatever he had their schedule. But
you know, this kind of my strategies, of course, are only mine. I don't know if other people have other ones. Of course, you brought up interesting point, especially for young, no, in my case, young nurses, young workers in health system. And what I always try to say to them is that it depends on their character, on their personality. If you are subjected, no, by a superior, no, an higher position of you, of course, you always are afraid of them, you know, and you don't have the weapons to answer in this kind of cases. No, it depends of if you are a strong person or if you are weak in some way. Uh, Everything is in your hands, in my opinion. That's it. Doesn't mean that I don't want to work and I don't want to replace any colleagues, because sometimes it happens. Of course, I'm not a Superman that refuse or turns down every call.
Opportunity, yeah.
Yeah. But I am so strong with other people in some questions, and my family, my leisure time, my free time is so precious for me.
Mm-hmm.
There is no money for me to replace my free time.
Yeah.
That's my mantra, no, in some way.
Mm-hmm. Well, that happens too, and I know. I mean, for me, like I said, I was always—I don't want to say money hungry in a bad way, but I was always like, how can I make more money? I'll always need money in the future, so why not make it now that I'm young and I don't have any like kind of commitments, to anything. So I would work a lot. I think my job here that I had wages, they would call me first to see if I wanted to work because they knew I just wanted to work. And I'm the one that would cancel plans with friends to go work. So I'm that kind of person. And it's just because, I don't know, I just figured for every day of your entire life, you'll need money for something. So why not start out good and, start now? And I did make a lot of money and I did work a lot. And now I'm realizing that I have a good job in Spain. And obviously this is a good job too, but the other one pays me more. I have my set kind of life. I have my salary. I get paid per hour because it's about how many classes I do. And so, of course, I'm available quite a bit, and I do some other jobs too. And in order to make money, if you work hourly, you have to work a lot of hours, and so I don't mind doing that. But I definitely now appreciate my free time a lot more too, because up until June, July, I was still working on the weekends. So I was working 7 days a week for the past couple years, except last summer. And it's hard, and so now this year I've decided, sorry, not going to work on the weekends anymore. And I'm sure there'll be some people that won't be very happy about that. But that's also why these classes are now during the week, because, I mean, it's not hard to do an hour class. It's really not. But it's just that commitment of having something to do on the weekend. And it's like, oh, I have that class. And it's like, as much as I enjoy these classes, it's still that commitment on the weekend. So that's kind of why I do these during the week now. And it's fantastic. I definitely enjoy my free time. And now that my husband has some, with his job, we can do more things together. It's fantastic. So,
Nobody, no one can give you your time back.
right.
So if you miss your time, you definitely have lost it forever.
And that's the thing too that I've realized is that you need to enjoy life now. And so that's why we went to Amsterdam. That's why I'm home now. We're going to Prague in December. And I'm going to tell Thomas, sorry, Thomas, that I'm not going to do classes when I'm in Prague. So, it's just a part of life. So, we'll see what happens. But it's just, you have to find that balance. And so I completely understand if you don't want to work, that's fine. It's a personal choice. Nowadays, I mean, for me, if I'm available, I don't probably have anything else planned during the week, so I don't mind, doing these extra classes. So, but good. Well, and Ken, what about you? I mean, you said you had a job that, they would call you in and things like that. And doesn't it feel terrible? Like, did you ever kind of get out of it for any reason?
Yeah, as you said, it kind of money issue. It was not my full-time job, and it kind of, if I work more, I could get more.
Mm-hmm.
So usually I accept the offer, but because the working condition is not so terrible there. But as you said, maybe I was thinking, oh, today is off, so I free, I have no commitment. But all of a sudden commitment came also. So I need to I couldn't be relaxed, if that happened. And maybe such kind of thing is not good. Also, yeah, your Marco said time didn't come back. So it's a matter of balance, actually. Yeah.
It is. Especially after you make the commitment of going to work, you're like, great, now I only have what, like 2, 3, maybe 4 hours until I have to go to work. So now what do? You don't, like, I was always super reserved and thinking, no, I have to go to work. I can't do anything. I just have to sit around and wait until I have to go to work.
Right.
And so I wouldn't do anything. And then later I realized, like, all right, let's think about this. If you have like 3 or 4 hours, you have plenty of time to go do this, go do that, do something. And before, I just used to get really anxious about time commitments, especially when flying. Now I'm a lot better, but I think that's Spain, actually. It's relaxed me a lot more. But it changes your complete day. So, any other comments about this topic?
Yeah, you mean yeah. So how can I say? Maybe Spanish lifestyle and Japanese lifestyle and American lifestyle could be different. So I think I'm not sure, but how do you feel about Spanish lifestyle or working conditions there?
Well, I mean, the working conditions aren't fantastic all the time, and I'm going to speak for the tourism part of Spain just because that's what I'm most familiar with. I mean, you work about 10 to 12 hours a day easily. You work 6 days a week. You have 1 day off and don't get paid a lot. I would say the average is probably 4 something an hour, so €4 and like 20 cents or 30 cents an hour that you're working. So in general, it's not a very good situation, but because there was a huge recession, companies are still getting away with that. So that's not good. I also know that people who work for companies, for example, in Madrid and Barcelona, they work, let's say, 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 or something like that with an hour break for lunch. And they work Monday to Fridays. And I don't really know what they get paid. Obviously, I don't ask because they're clients of mine. They're, kind of students, I guess you could say. But it's just completely different there. And I'm sure they get paid more. But I think Spain in general has relaxed me a lot. And that's kind of like just, it's okay. We'll get there. Don't worry. Everything happens for a reason. I don't want to be late for any of my flights today. I'd rather just get to Madrid and, like, if I have to get stopped there, I get stopped there. But I just think in the Spanish lifestyle, everything's a lot just more relaxed, especially in the south where I live. So it's really, in general, helped me with, anxiety and OCD and, like, going crazy about the tiniest little things. So I think my parents noticed that too. It's funny, like, my dad was peeling hard-boiled eggs this morning, and he's like, they're not coming apart. You can't get the shell off very well. I was like, do you want me to do it so you don't get frustrated? And he's like, yeah, I do. Like, okay, Dad. It's like little things like that I used to get angry. I used to get upset about too, but it's really, at the end of the day, not that big of a deal. Look for a different way, and it's going to be okay. So.
I see. That's nice. Yeah.
So things like that. Good. Well, I have a couple other things here for us. So, for example, at my mom's work, they pick, like, today's Wednesday, right? So today they get a 15-minute massage, everyone. And also, for example, one person gets to choose where they eat for lunch on Wednesday. So the company buys lunch on Wednesdays. And I don't know how much time in advance the other person gets to choose. So what they'll do is one person will choose, and then they'll have the menu from there, and then they kind of, like, pick what they want probably on Monday, and then they order it on Wednesday, obviously. So my question to you, and this sounds silly, but it kind of is a big deal. My mom's super sensitive to food, very picky as well. And so she doesn't like anything spicy. She doesn't like anything, I don't know, like, just, she's very simple food. And so I was thinking about her, and I thought, well, if you're in that situation and you're the person that gets to choose the restaurant, would you choose what you really want or something that's best for everybody else that has a variety of things, So that's kind of my question. Also, allergies. Now that I'm gluten intolerant, I can't eat pizza, unfortunately. I can't eat pasta. You know, I can't eat just plain old sandwiches. That has to have special bread. So now that's something I think about too. So what do we think about that? Not my inability to eat pizza, but in general of, you know, if you really, really are craving a place, you're like, oh, I really want to go there. Oh, I'll do it on Wednesday. We'll do it for Wednesday. But you know at least one or two people isn't going to like the place. What do you do? Ken, do you want to say? Oh, Marco, go ahead. It doesn't matter.
It's the same for me. You know, yeah, in Italy we are people, no, that we love food in general. We are quite famous in all over the world, no, for our recipe, our variety, no, in food, our spaghetti from the starters to the first course, our most known spaghetti, and the second course, of course, and our sweet cakes, wine. I could speak for hours about our food. So, like population, like people, we are quite used to go out, no, to dine out, even during the week. But despite, like you mentioned earlier about the recession, no, in Spain, even in Italy, we believe in some recession in some way, no, this economic crisis, of course. Has been lasting so long, no? But people love going out and spending their money in that way. But of course, in these modern times, even here, especially for a young generation, something has changed because they take care about their diet, like you said, for example, in this modern time, there are more people, for example, they suffer, or they have discovered, they have found out they suffer from gluten or some other allergies. No, that in the past, when I was younger. I didn't have mentioned in some way. So today it's different in some way, you know. For example, if I had to tell my experience, of course, I say that I go for a lunch. Once in a while, once in a month. For example, in my job, we have a canteen, no? That many workers go there before they shift or when they when they go off from the shift. But for example, I never appreciate that way of eating. I am an old fashioned in that way. I prefer to stay at home, prepare my food, and then go to the work because it's something related to what I said to you earlier. I love my time, my free time at home, not close to work. I don't want to ruin my time by going to the canteen and spending 1 hour before the work in the hospital, in my case. So more or less it's so, at least for me.
Okay, good. And Ken, what about you? In the whole, you have to choose, you know, lunch for someone for your coworkers. I think my mom probably works with, let's say, 15 people. something like that. So what would you do? Would you choose something that you want or choose
Okay.
something for everybody?
Yeah, so some people are picky, not a party eater, right? So some people are not. Also, some people have the allergy, you know. And
Yep.
so if maybe in that case, I can say buffet style is good. Buffet. A buffet
A
is English, I
buffet.
think. Buffet, yeah.
The problem is that you have to, I'm sorry, I don't know if I clarified. You have to bring it to work. Like they're going to deliver it to work. So no buffets.
Okay,
Yes,
usually
that'd be
in a
good.
catering service, I mean, not like a lunchbox is pretty kind of culture of Japanese has a culture of lunchbox, dinner box. Such kind of culture is very, how can I say?
Yeah, I mean
Yes.
that's the same here. My mom normally takes a lunch to work, but on Wednesdays, the company orders food for everybody. I mean, orders food. The company pays for the food that the employees order. So, but yeah, I mean that's typical here too.
So, what I mean is, in the lunchbox, there are a lot of variety of different types of lunchbox are available. So, maybe ordering some varieties of lunchbox and an employee can choose among these. How about that?
That's true. I know what my mom does is she gets, the menu of the restaurant that the person has chosen, and then she will order, she'll put her name and then order whatever she wants. I don't know if there's a limit to how much it is or not, but in that case, I would be very if I were in that situation, I would look for a restaurant that has a lot of different foods so everyone can find something that they like. That it has salads and soups and sandwiches
Right.
and maybe more meal kind of things.
Okay,
Just because
maybe
you never know.
going to, I forgot, Denny's. The Japanese
Okay.
Denny's has, Western food, Chinese food, Japanese food. So, yeah, maybe
Really?
people can find what they want. Yeah, yeah,
Interesting,
that's one
interesting.
solution. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yes, that is. It's finding those places that has a good variety of things.
Right.
And some people are like health conscious, so they want like the natural organic, and other people are like, I just like whatever. I don't care about what I'm eating really. And so, I feel like you have to balance, and then especially in those work kind of situations. Because if not, I would have to order like a sandwich without bread, or not eat the bread, or something like that. So it would just be like kind of. And here, my mom's like, "Oh, they have salads." It's like I've eaten a salad today already. I don't want another salad. You know what I mean? Like I don't. I love salads. I love eating them, but it gets to the point that when you eat them so many times, it's like I don't want that anymore. So,
Mm.
you know,
Actually, kind of food hub is a bit different from, the Western restaurants up here.
mhm,
And usually Japanese restaurants has a kind of a, how can I say, set lunch menu or set
mhm,
dinner menu is available. It a lot of different kind of dishes are on the same kind of set of the table, kind of small table kind of thing. So there's no course actually. So
interesting.
that's one solution because yeah, such kind of restaurant has a lot of different ingredients set lunch menu and
Mhm,
people can choose yeah what they want as a set
interesting.
lunch. Yeah.
Well, in Spain too, they have like the menu of the day, and so you go and sit down. You'll get your first course, your second course, then you get your dessert and everything. So, um, that's basically it. I mean, they can do the same thing. And what you do
Mhm.
is normally for a restaurant, they probably have, I would say,
You know,
4 to 5 options for each course.
I
So you have
I
choices.
experienced the Japanese restaurant in America. I went there in the lunchtime. I expect such kind of lunch.
Of course.
We ordered lunch menu, but waiter came bring the soup or such kind of course. So kind of we realized, oh, maybe that's one cultural difference thing. Because Japanese restaurants usually don't serve such kind of course in the lunchtime. Kind of waiter and waitress just bring the small table. Everything are on the table, a small table at the same
Mm-hmm.
time.
Well,
So
that
yeah,
happens in Spain too with tapas. Tapas are basically a small portion of food. It's like
all right.
just a
Mhm.
little
Yeah,
bit. And,
right.
so when you go out for lunch or dinner, you can order, it doesn't matter how many, you can order 2 or 6. It depends how hungry you are, depends on the quantity of food that comes on the tapa. So, a lot of people are like, well, what's a tapa? I was like, it's just a small portion of food. Like, there's really, and that's kind of normal. So you get a little bit of everything, or what you feel like eating. You don't have to get what everyone else is eating. And then there's a tapas place here, and someone asked me, like, have you been there? I was like, well, I haven't been there. But I've looked at their menu, and they said, well, how does it compare? Is it like real Spanish food? I was like, there's stuff that's the same, but it's kind of like in English we'll say it's fluffed up. It's kind of like the base of the food is probably okay, probably Spanish style or common there, but they kind of add extra things to kind of make it look pretty. That's called fluffing it up. And that's kind of where you stop with the whole Spanish thing. When my twin was over in Spain a couple years ago, he said, the food here is pretty rustic. And what he meant by rustic was that it was just very simple. You ordered a steak and potato, you got a steak and potato and nothing else. In some places you get the steak, potato, bread,
Yeah.
garnish, some vegetables, whatever. And so it's just different. In Spain, it's what you order, you basically get that. So yeah, so it is different, but I can definitely understand. Sometimes you have to more Americanize or Spanishize, I don't know if that's a word, depending on the country that you're in. Because if we have Japanese food here, I can bet it's not 100%, as you said, authentic. And not just that, but it's going to go for the tastes. I know in McDonald's you have different options
Right.
than we do here.
Teriyaki burger is available here.
Things like that. And also in Spain, we can order beer at McDonald's. I don't think I ever have, but you can. And here it's like, whoa, you can order beer at McDonald's? That's crazy. Like, well, alcohol is more of a social thing there, and it's okay to have a beer for lunch. But here it's like, I don't want to say it's not acceptable. It's just not normal. So, there's restaurants that don't serve alcohol here, and I think my father-in-law is just going to be, that's culture shock right there. So, I'm going to have to strategically pick, if he does come one day, where to go. Because it's just different, it's not good or bad, but you definitely focus on that cultural aspect. Good. Well, that's okay that you ordered beer at McDonald's. That's great. And I'm sure, who's to say between, Japanese food and Italian food, everything in America is going to be a little bit like it, but not perfect. So
I do think that with my total respect, of course, but Japanese food, Italian food are the antipodes, and are they so distant, like our countries. That's my
exactly.
Deep respect, of course. I say that, but they are so distant, like habits, like food.
Well, also, everyone thinks Italy, pizza, pasta, but it's also a lot of fish.
Yeah,
I've heard that fish is
but it's an understatement, totally understatement, because you, of course, pizza and pasta are the two big, no,
food
signs that every person in the world knows, no, of course, but we have a so varied recipes. Every region in Italy has their different way of cooking. But so I know I'm not the most unbiased person to say that, because I am Italian, of course, but I bet that most of the people in the world would agree with me that Italian food is a fantastic. Mediterranean diet is another one famous trademark. Of course, it's not only Italian; it's only in Spain, for example, in France. But the first course, like we intend the first course, and it's not only spaghetti, because we have so many type of pasta, so different shapes of pasta, different sauce that we can add in the pasta. That I bet if I could invite you in my home, and can, of course, both of you. You would be astonished from the taste, from the flavor. Not because I am a good cook. My wife is much better than me, but in all family houses, in every family, there is a cook that is good.
Well, I must be that one in my house because I cook a lot more than my husband does. But Ken, I actually looked at this picture of your Italian food in Japan. Marco, go ahead and open it, but right-click and then open a new tab. Otherwise, it'll disappear from the Hangout.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Just how different. And like here, we have all the different types of noodles. I mean, the basic stuff. You have angel hair pasta, linguine, fettuccine, ravioli, tortellini, all that kind of stuff. And so we do have that here. And like your white sauce, pesto, marinara, your tomato based. So we do have different things. But I just feel that, even in Spain, like the Mediterranean diet is super healthy, but there's a lot of fried food in there. And I'll be the first to admit I've gained a lot of weight living in Spain, changing the lifestyle, having those social beers more often, eating later at night, things like that. So, it does change you. But I can't complain. It does look good, Ken. It just needs a little bit more sauce for me. But, also about the different regions in Spain, there's like 17 different regions, official regions, and all of them have way different styles of food. Even though Spain is 4 times the size of Wisconsin, so not that big. And Italy's really long, so you have the southern food, which is probably more of the salads and colder food, compared to the north, where it's probably hotter foods in the winter, like more soup-based stuff. The same thing in Spain. It goes by regions. And so as much as I want to emphasize, you cannot stereotype a country no matter how big, it happens.
But probably in this kind of debate, we could go in some stereotype, foods. For example, in my mind, when I think about American food, of course, the first thing that come up in my mind is McDonald's, fast food, junk food, this kind of things. But I know it's not the reality. I know you have a deep difference in your country because it's so big. And I don't know, from Indiana to California to New York to Delaware, probably they are different recipe, a different way of cooking. But every one of us probably has been suffering.
Hamburger.
Yeah, from this kind of stereotypes, no?
I've had one while I was home, by the way, and it was made of chicken. So, but it also depends on our history. For example, a lot of Germans have settled in this area in Wisconsin and Minnesota, Illinois, Michigan, that kind of thing. And so we eat a lot of different types of sausages because Germans were here and had that big influence on us. So, we do have that too. And the Bostonians, I think they're called, a lot of them are from Ireland, and so it just depends on that too. So again, you can't stereotype, but yeah, I should have had a really big hamburger. That's my husband. He loves hamburgers from here. So
He's not the only one, probably.
No, and I do like them, and I do, just the time went by super fast. Had a lot of meals to do, and so, but that's about it. So we're coming to the end of this class time, and I need to finish packing. I need to get going. So I will see all of you in Spain I'll be in Spain the next time, and our next class will be at kind of normal schedule time. It'll be 1 o'clock in Spain on Monday, and then 3 o'clock on Wednesday next week.
Okay.
And I think we're going to be talking about entrepreneurs, which is the person who invents a business, basically. So we'll hopefully motivate you, and you can become rich one day.
Okay.
So everyone.
But before going away, I wanted to wish you a safe trip, a safe return trip to your home. So have a nice return to Spain.
Well, thank you very much. I also hope that I have a safe trip, and that's it. So we'll just hopefully see you in Spain. And I mean, if I go late, I'll be there by Monday, so I'm not too worried about it. So thank you. I'll be posting on Facebook just so everyone knows that I'm kind of en route. So I'm just excited to get to Madrid more than anything. So. But it'll be a while. Sounds good. Well, Ken, we'll see you later. Have a great day, and we'll see you in Spain.
Okay,
bye, Ken.
All right.
Bye bye.
Good preparation, Japan. Bye bye.
Oh, yeah. Bye bye.
Bye. I stay in Italy, of course.